Hello everyone, this is Jamaica 5288. How are you guys doing? I don't see anybody in here yet, so I'll just wait for a second. I know that most of you all on your drive home and I just thought I'd try this thing out for the first time. So, I'll wait. In here yet, so I'll just wait for a second. I know that most of you all on your drive home and I just thought I'd try this thing out for the first time. So, well, because I'm here and there's one other person, and that is me. I wanted to talk to you guys about winter coming up. So I know it's summer and it's still hot and there's fires and all that stuff going on. I need to turn the volume down on this thing. Just a second. I wanted to talk to you guys about winter coming up. So I know it's summer and it's still hot. Okay, better. So today I was sitting there and watching YouTube and planting stuff like I normally do. I got a bunch of stuff planted and I'm so proud of myself. All of this and this tray is done. I think I've gotten everything I wanted planted for the fall crop, but the lights flickered. And because the lights flickered, I started thinking about winter. Because the last time the lights flickered here in Texas, they went out in neighborhoods. It was called Uri. It was during an ice storm. Not this past winter, but I think the one just before that. And there were a lot of people in Texas who were not prepared for the winter. I'm gonna bring you down, okay? Who were not prepared for the winter. And because they weren't prepared for the winter, some of them got serious frostbite and some even died they froze to death basically in their apartments. Down here, we're not used to it being winter, and from what I've been hearing on the news and the undercurrent of El Nino, and everybody is saying that the winter is going to be serious this winter. So I started thinking about the things that you might need. And I myself, this neighborhood is all electric. Some of my neighbors have fireplaces. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people who bought a house with a fireplace. At the time, I thought to myself, as a New Yorker, I'm thinking to myself, it's hot in Texas, what do I need a fireplace for? Well, now I'm thinking about getting a wood burning stove. And anyway, that's gonna be another ordeal because then they gotta put a hole in the house. So I was thinking about the things that we might want to think about getting. And I know that some of you all have already started. I wrote a list. I know that some of you all have already started putting water aside for the summer because, it's hot and you don't know about the water sources. But then another thing is that, in winter, your pipes freeze. At least down here, down south, the pipes freeze. And when they freeze, they either burst, or in this house, they froze outside and I didn't have any water for about 4 to 5 days, which is a lot. And I called the water department and he said to me, and there's a little old man who owns like a private water company out here in the, in the Texas area. And I said, my water is frozen. It's frozen. I mean, I can't get any water. No water is coming to the house. And I said, can't you do something? And he says, well, ma'am, my water is frozen also. Then he told me to go out there with a blow dryer and defrost the pipe outside. And it was freezing. Why would I? So I had to shower at the gym, at work, and I think I went to my girlfriend's house to shower. I was just showering all over the place. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, the pipes are gonna burst. Anyway, they didn't burst. I was lucky that time. So one thing you need to keep in your house is water. I think the water did freeze in this house. Yeah, it did. Last year it froze. I had no water. I think it was Christmas. Yes, Christmas. The water came on for Christmas. Just like the day before Christmas, my water defrosted. And oh my gosh, I remember going to Home Depot and people being in the aisle and buying all kind of plumbing stuff because their pipes had busted. I was just one of the lucky ones who didn't have that happen. One of my friends is a plumber, and he told me that the water softener that I have in the garage was probably the reason why the water froze. But going on from that, I have water stored, but you use water for a lot of things that you don't think about. So water is the number one thing that you should have stored up in your house. A person can live for approximately a week without water, but you ain't gonna be doing nothing. You're gonna be delirious. So make sure you have water, not only water to drink, but water to wash your hands. And sometimes I mean, if you don't, and what we used in the military was wet wipes. We had when we used to go on our field problems, or if we deployed somewhere, in our rucksack, we would have wet wipes. By the way, I'm retired military, so that was one of the things, one of the saving graces. And me and my girlfriend, I mean, when we went to field exercise, or if we went somewhere we thought there wasn't going to be a shower, we carry, I hate to say it, a car wash bucket with that big sponge. So this is just word to the wise. That's what we did. We used a car wash sponge. Hi, Bro Farmer. How are you doing? I see you. It's just me and you and me and you right now. So the first thing you probably need to save up for winter is water. That's the number one thing. Second is food. You can live for 3 weeks without food, depending on how much body fat some people can live longer than that, depending on how much extra fat they're carrying on their body. Some people's metabolism is extremely high and they don't have as much, and then your body starts eating your muscle. So if you have extra fluff, like I do, you might be able to go longer than 3 weeks without food. But food is the number two thing. But I think that staying warm is hand in hand with that, because if you let yourself get frostbite, and I've been frostbite before. I'm from New York City. I used to have to wait for the bus, not the school bus, the public bus to go to high school, and my nose would freeze, my ears would freeze, the tips of my hands would freeze, and my feet were frozen. And it didn't matter what kind of boots I had on or what kind of gloves I had on. It was just a wind chill factor. So the number 2 to 3 thing is food and something to keep you warm. And the best thing to keep you warm, and I moved it, is a wool blanket. All these synthetic fabrics that they're coming out with, or a goose down. That's another one. But goose down is going to keep you extremely warm. The wool blankets is what we used when we were like, we didn't carry it. We carried our sleeping bag with us when we deployed. But the wool blanket was the number one thing we did when we were back in garrison. And wool blankets, 2 or 3 of them you need per person, and you'll be just fine. Wool breathes, so it's not going to get like these synthetic fabrics, because I have some of them, they're really fluffy and soft, but they don't breathe. So wool is the best thing. And if you have to spend $30 on a wool blanket, it's worth it in the end. Or goose is really expensive. That's why I didn't mention that at first. But wool, you get that for about $20 to $30 on Amazon or any store. Make sure you get a good one, because some of them are thinner than others. I recommend that you get one that's about 4 to 4.5 pounds for the blanket, and that's for one person, about 6'5" or whatever. It should cover one person, and get 2 to 3 of those per person. Just keep them in the bag if you have to. Don't let them get rotten, because they can get wet and they can deteriorate on you if you don't seal them, or if you don't use them. I use mine, so they get plenty of air. So a person can stay in extreme cold for 3 days, and that's it. Then you're done. So yeah, you're gonna, first of all, your phalanges, which are your fingers and your toes, they may be gone. They may be gone. So it's important. I remember when I went to basic training a long time ago, we had wool socks. And if you are worried about the wool socks rubbing on your feet and giving you blisters, men and women wore pantyhose in the wintertime. everybody had pantyhose, and pantyhose will stop you from getting blisters. So we put the pantyhose on. I mean, like, and I would see guys and I'd laugh because I knew what they were doing. They'd go into go and get some regular pantyhose in the Queens department or the tall department, and they would get pantyhose and it would be for them. They'd have a few pair in their rucksack. You don't want knee highs, because knee highs are going to cut off your circulation. You want pantyhose that go all the way up to your waistline. And that nylon will keep you from getting any type of rubbing. Like some of the women, we have big thighs and our legs rub together. If you put the pantyhose on under your pants, you're not going to have that as much friction. So, and make sure you get some that fit. Don't get some, that's too small or way too big. Get the ones that fit. So that's going to keep your feet from getting blisters, and it's going to keep you warmer. Wool socks is another thing you need. And another thing that we had to do when we were out there is have at least, like, in your to-go bag or your get home safe bag, make sure you have some extra socks. Because if your socks get wet, first of all, you don't know how important your feet are until you can't use them. Because if your socks get super wet, your feet are going to get wet, and that's going to cause all kind of problems. So you want to keep at least 3 pair of socks, preferably wool or cotton socks, in your bag, or to keep yourself warm. Now I hear that a lot of preppers saying you should have a pup tent in your house. I don't know. We never did that. We ain't had no pup tent. We had hand warmers, those kind that you shake, little packets you shake. And we had the ones that you could stick in your boot or something that, like, they were like, you would shake, they're little packets. You shake them and you put them in the palms of your hands. And for your feet, well, we used to call it make your buddy smile. So if someone gets extremely cold, first of all, even if you don't like him, you're gonna get real close to each other, because your body heat, a person's body, if you come together, that's why animals do that. You see that they all gather together. That's what we used to do. We'd all huddle together, and we are furnaces. So make your buddy smile. That's what we used to say. That'll keep you warm. People don't have all your kids in one room, or your husband, and y'all are all in different rooms. All of you get in the same room, because all of you all are conducting heat, and you will keep each other warm. The smaller the space, the better. Now, for the pup tent in the house, I was in the Army for over 20 years, and we ain't do no pup tents in no house. But I'm not saying it's not gonna work, but hey, do whatever you want to do. The next thing that I started doing is I got a buddy heater. Those things are invaluable. There may be other forms of buddy heaters, but you can use a buddy heater inside your house. And right now they're cheap because everybody is burning up. They're not thinking about a buddy heater. Last time I went to Walmart and looked, they had marked them down to like $67. In the wintertime, they're over $100. So get a couple of them buddy heaters. And make your family stay in one room so you don't have 3 buddy heaters going at, because those little propane tanks, they don't last long. Even if you have the big buddy heater and you have the 2, they don't last long. You need to get everybody in the same room so that you could use one buddy heater, and you could have those little propane tanks for a longer period of time, because everybody being separated, they're all using up fuel. If you're using a 5-gallon tank, you got to put that outside the window somewhere, because that stuff, and you need a carbon monoxide detector, because you could die of carbon monoxide if you put that stuff in your house. Even if you have the small tanks, you should have one. Going on to the, so I have a fireplace at a place out in the sticks in here in Texas, and you have to have a carbon monoxide. I recommend that you have a carbon monoxide detector if you have gas in your house, or if you have any kind of wood burning stove, or if you have a fireplace. People have passed away because of that. Those heaters that are plugged into the wall, if the electricity goes out like it did here today, well, that's not gonna be any good to you. You could have solar generators. I have a solar generators, but those things do not last long. I plug it up to the TV, and within a couple of hours, it's gone. So if you don't have sunlight, the solar generator is not gonna work for very long, and even you're going to have to conserve that energy. Even if you have a bigger solar generator, unless you have a bunch of battery packs, the problem is not the solar generator. The problem is the battery packs and how much capacity you have. So you're going to have to conserve that stuff, especially in hours of darkness. I only use it for a light. Um, I rely solely on the buddy heater for heat at night. I do not plug in any kind of air conditioner, or I do plug in a fan because, you know, it's hot here in Texas. But and I can use that on my solar generator. But any type of, hi, I see you. How you doing? Oh, hi, let me see. Urban Backyard Container Gardening. How are you doing? All right. This is my first live. I got 2 people besides me. Well, 3 people, right? Yeah. Well, 2 are watching. Okay. So another thing with okay, I talked about the heat, and another thing that you're gonna need, and this happened during Uri. I worked for the city of Austin for a long time, and during Uri, when our power went out for it was a week, I think. I see you. Oh, that's great. So our power went out for about a week, and I used to do contracting, and because I had solar generators, I first of all, I had a live that day. I had a bid opening, which is a where you take in bids from. Well, no. We had a pre-proposal meeting, which is where you speak to the general public and you tell them what the contract is about. Well, the day that I was doing the pre-proposal meeting, everybody's electricity went out except mine. Mine was intermittent because I guess I got a hospital near me, and mine was intermittent, and I had people calling me on my cell phone asking me to do stuff for them because they didn't have any type of power. And man, people were sleeping. This is how people got sick or passed away. They were sleeping in their cars with their car running. That car, you can't do that. People were generating their houses with their cars. And there's a way you can do that, but you need to open that garage door. The car is basically a generator. And they were powering their lights and their TV with their car. And they had gasoline, I guess. So that's how some people got through it. But there were a lot of people who didn't have any type of alternate electricity besides the electricity that they had in their house, and that was gone for a week. So at nighttime, people were having to use candles, and fires broke out this winter. So candles, I don't know about candles. I recommend going ahead and getting something solar powered. You get some solar lights, leave them out in the sun during the day, and bring them in the house at night just so that you don't run into something, because the candles, they catch fire. We had several fires out there in Austin, and I don't know if I forgot anything. I went over water, food, how to deal with the extreme cold and the things that you need to do, like get wool socks and wool sweaters and something to cover you up and to gather together, a wool blanket, and then alternate sources of heat like a buddy heater, and then alternate power, and then flashlight. I forgot that. Flashlight. I have a little one on my keychain that we used when we were in Afghanistan because we didn't have any. Well, we did. There was a road called Disney, and that was the only place in Bagram that had lights. Everything else was black. Everything was black. And we had these little lights. I don't have it with me, but I have a short on it where you would take the little light and you would walk around. Now, we didn't want a lot of light, and we didn't want to attract a lot of attention because we were in Afghanistan. They were bombing us. So at nighttime, you don't want to have a big old flashlight. You want a little itty bitty light, enough where you can see where your footing is and to get to your door. And we used to have padlocks on our door and to do the combination and get into our bee hut. Really living real rustic. Oh, and we had those those split systems. That's what heated us. And it got cold in Afghanistan, in Bagram at least. There was split systems where, like Mr. Heater, the little rustic ones where the little fan is outside and then it blows on. They put it on one side and on the other. And that's how we lived. So I don't know if you all are interested in this stuff, but I did have experience. I went to both Iraq and Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a lot, well, they were both bad, but they were a lot, we were living really, really with minimal things. Although, what does it say? I would warm up my car in the driveway, but I kept the window cracked. I stayed on post with a friend and a couple of nights, but I mostly bunkered down on my couch with all the tactics I learned. But so the living room, I have an open floor house. So if I cook in the kitchen, it goes all the way up to the stairs. And I wish I could get rooms besides bedrooms that close off to keep the heat on. And of course, everybody, I'm in Texas, you know, they got their Second Amendment rights going. Everybody is packing. But I did not go outside. It's more dangerous outside than it is in. And there are things you can do to barricade your doors. And like, I put a stick in the back door. That's real rustic. In the front door, I put those, there's a thing that you could jimmy under the door. But that's not going to stop anybody from coming. If they really want to come in, they're going to come in. I have 2 generators, 5, 7, 6, EcoFlow, and a Jackery. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, 576. Yeah, that can power you for at least a couple of hours if you're conservative and if you don't have a bunch of kids that use up stuff. You got to conserve that. The Jackery 240, I have that out in the sticks. I keep one of those out there with the solar panels. I have 2 solar panels all here, and I have a couple of. I have a generator, but I don't have a big generator. It's not big enough. Even 2,000 watts is not a lot when you're trying to, you're trying to do something like power your refrigerator. I have had a freezer, that black one right there, go out, and everything in it had to be thrown out. I have solar batteries. Let me see. I'm losing it. I have solar batteries. Every year we prepare for hurricanes because you're in Florida. Last year we were without electricity for 2 days, but my solar batteries, and we were okay. That's good. I have an EcoFlow too. I like it. I have an is that an EcoFlow over there? I think it's a River. Yeah, I have a River, but I have the little one. So I just use it for lights because, I keep a light on all night, and I'm like, well, I might as well use this thing because if you don't use it, you're not going to know how to use it. I also have a gas/propane generator for backup. I have an EcoFlow too. Some people don't like the EcoFlows, and I don't understand. They were like, the river went down, and I was like, okay. Then I was I was contemplating getting the Delta. I was going to save up for it because Delta is expensive. But I was contemplating getting the Delta, and I was like, okay, if EcoFlow is having problems, I don't want to invest all that money into a big one and then it break down on me, because I have had a solar generator break down on me, and some of those companies will not answer you back. I forget which one it was. Paxil, I think that's what it was. It was one of those ones I picked from Amazon, and I never got my money back. Wait a minute. Let me see. I have an EcoFlow too. Okay, hi. I got 2 Harbor Freight solar panels. But the Harbor Freight solar panels, you have to have that weird connection thing. I took mine back, and I ordered some from the internet that were the same price, and I didn't have to do that weird connection, have that weird connection to it. Harbor Freight solar panels, learned how to make them work. Yeah, and I never learned how to do it. I just took it back, got frustrated. I just used it for USB. I just use it for the USB blanket. I have a USB blanket. But I was just talking about USB blankets are good, but I recommend you all get wool blankets, because wool blankets breathe. Get two of them on you, and you're not gonna get cold. You're not. They don't accumulate the moisture that some of the other stuff, the synthetic stuff, does. So wool blankets, the old timey wool blankets, that's good. And if you can find one of your grandma's quilts, those are really good, because those are real cotton. So if you go to a thrift store and you see some old quilts, get that. But if not, just go ahead and get a wool blanket. They sell them for like $30 on Amazon. It's real easy to get that. I just wanted to talk about this because, as I said, my electricity went out today, and I was like, oh, it gave me flashbacks of when we didn't have electricity, or the electricity was in and out for a week. Okay, let me see if anybody. Food Girl, Quietly Gardening. Hey, Broke Farmer, Quietly Gardening. Hello, how are you doing? Food Farmers Permaculture. All right, hi. Did I miss anybody? If I missed your name, if I missed you, I am so sorry. But there's I have my iPad here. So I just wanted to talk about that. I didn't want to take up a bunch of your time. I'm gonna try to do a live, and I'm not gonna do it impromptu like I did today. But I just wanted to go over the things that you may waving. I just wanted to go over the things that you may want to think about prior to everyone else thinking about it. Think about going and get a buddy heater or something that doesn't require electricity. Water and food. Everybody on here, everybody from what I seen on this scroll thing is is on it as far as food and water. But getting cold, wool blanket, wool socks, those two things. Get some pantyhose so that if you have to walk, keep that in your to-go bag in your car. And alternate sources of heat, alternate power, and of course a flashlight. And if you want to, everybody's talking about those big old flashlights. There's those little keychain flashlights that you just press it, and it's enough light that you put on the ground when you're walking. And I'm just envisioning, because I had to do it for 2 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. You just walking, and you just want to make sure that, first of all, you can identify somebody's face. You're not going to blind them, but at least you have a description of them if something happens. And you want to make sure you don't fall in any holes or twist your ankle, because a twisted ankle is oh God, that's a terrible thing. That happened to me. Where was I? Iraq? Yeah. And I had to go somewhere. I was getting on a helicopter, and that was not good. I was limping around, and man, it was bad. Bad news. You do not want to hurt yourself when bad things happen, like a blackout. So I thank everybody, and I know I've been talking for about 26 minutes. I'm gonna let you guys go. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you guys. All right, I got a couple of them issued wool ones. Yes. All right, guys, bye. Bless you too. Peace. Bye.